It is for the sake of their coordination. Like if I asked, as we are here, do we have departmental heads? Yeah, if we are all departmental heads, if I asked those whose responsibilities or duties are largely outreach, stand here. No, that's another way of doing it. You cannot be in all the three. You'll only be in one place. You know, you stand here as outreach team. Let's have you at this corner. Then we say those departments that largely fall under inreach, nyinyi mkae hapa. Those ones that are largely doing outreach activities, they are more outward facing. You sit this other side. Do you get? Which departments would fall under outreach? You cannot say, but on Sabbath, we are involved in outreach activities. Of course, Sabbath school is involved in outreach activities, but is that their core business? When you say personal ministries are coordinating outreach activities, would we say that Sabbath school falls under outreach and not, they are more in outreach than any other thing? That's the way I want you to think about it. Which departments would we then take and say, these ones, their core business is outreach? You have said prayer ministry, isn't it? Tick. Their core business is what? Outreach, isn't it? Is there any other that you can think about? Let's go this way. And music. Now think about music. Is it more outreach or is it more something else? Huh? What is singing supposed to do when the choir, when you look at music department, what is their main focus? Can somebody speak up this side? So their main business, is it more connect us to God or to win souls? So would you put choir or music department under outreach or?
It serves
I like the argument. Now we are getting the point. Are you seeing? When you look at the choir, of course they connect, the songs will lift us up spiritually. But what is their core mandate? When the choir is there singing, they have a duty. We sing, they record their songs for what? For soul winning, isn't it? We would use them more for doing what? Outreach or soul winning than any other thing. Are we getting it? Okay. We are going to just wait a minute. You know, we are still trying to understand it. Then we place the departments. That's why I have stood up for this activity. So when you talk about choir, are they more? Is the choir to be focused more on soul winning, or are they supposed to be singing for us here as we sit to uplift our souls to God? Yes, I'm just saying where do they fall more than the other? Because they cannot be in two places.
Where would you want to place them?
Where would you want them to be placed? Yes, okay.
Maybe let's not really say choir as such.
I'm saying music.
Music.
Yes, department, yes.
I want to relate music with the preacher. You know, when a preacher stands to preach, we cannot vividly say that now he is doing inreach or outreach or outreach. I want to believe when what the preacher is doing is the same thing the choir, the music in the church is doing. So when there is a music in the church, someone will be uplifted. When there is a music in the church, another person will be enriched. When there is music in the church, there is another person, probably is the first time coming to church. That particular music will reach that person, and he will be able to testify that I came to this church because of that particular music which I had on that particular day.
You're right. But now, so as we look at the departments when it comes to our planning, every department will have their outreach activities, their in-reach activities, and their outreach activities. Okay? We'll come to that. But for the sake of coordination of the departments, we need to have departments that largely fall under in-reach. Yeah, that is what they are largely driving in the church or supporting. The activities are mostly focusing on in-reach. Okay? Then we have those departments that we would cluster as being falling under that in-reach. The ones that their functions largely nurture the members, their functions. Okay? Let's look at a department like could I say something like deaconry? Is deaconry more about soul winning, or is it about involvement or nurture of members within the church? So deaconry, where would you place it? In reach. But can deaconry department do activities outside there that will win souls? Yes, but where is their main work? Cleaning the church, preparing for service, preparing for Holy Communion. Where do they focus more? Isn't it? Okay. Let's look at another department. Sabbath school. Where would you place Sabbath school? Think about what Sabbath school largely does. Where would you place it? Huh? Where would we place Sabbath school? What is the main focus of Sabbath school? Let me get an easy one. I know we are going to explain what Sabbath school is supposed to be doing, which may change where we would want to place it. Let me get an obvious one. Something like AMO. Where is the main focus? AMO as a department. Would you place AMO under outreach or inreach? Huh? Outreach. Why? Why would you place AMO under outreach? They are more into community service. What does AMO do largely? Is it more community service or more services in the church? I've seen Elder's hand. Elder, can you speak up?
I think for AMO, just like for the other clubs in the church, they are mostly in reach because you have membership from the church. And first of all, you've reached out to them, they can have outreach activities, but largely it is for, in my view, in reach.
Okay. Now, what about Adventist women ministries? What about women ministries? Is it more in reach or outreach? Huh? In reach. Women ministries, is it in reach or outreach? The core mandate is to take care of the. Wow. I think that is very well put. Their core what? Is to ensure that women are involved. Where? So they are actively, somebody has added, actively involved in what? So, in-reach or outreach? Very good. Now, what about Dorcas? I like that one. I think some people have really gotten the way we are doing this. Now, is Dorcas more looking at interests of members within the church or outside? So Dorcas, what about women ministry? Wow. Now, there is one tumeweka kwa parking because we are going to argue about it. Let me get the simple ones so that you can get the concept. So far we have agreed. What about AMO? What did we agree on AMO? Did we say in-reach or outreach? What is the main focus? Women ministry, we said in-reach largely, isn't it? Eh? Getting men involved. Let me put it this other way. Total men involvement. Getting men involved. Is that for nurture or for soul winning? Nurture. So AMO, enrich. Isn't it? Yes. I would place AMO under enrich. The same way we have put, so women this side are nurtured. Enrich. AMO the same way, nurturing of men, getting them involved in the services within the church. You want to build, how can we get men involved? There is some fee to be paid for a child within the church, an orphan or whatever, men involved. So they are involved, enrich, isn't it? I'm still elaborating the principle. That's why I'm giving the examples. After that, we are going to cluster all the departments. Let me pick another example and give and see where we can place it. Let's say, let's look at a department like evangelism department. Evangelism. Do you have evangelism department? I'm just giving that example. Evangelism. Is that for nurture or is that for outreach or is that for outreach? That is obvious, isn't it? Interest coordination. Where would that fall? Hey, what is the mandate of the interest coordinator? Think, please. Take a minute and think before you say, What is the role of the interest coordinator? Yeah. Potential. So, where would you place interest coordinator? Hey, you should come and stand next to me because now umeshika moto sasa. Are you seeing the way we are placing? When you say interest coordinator, that is the person who will say, there is this group here, there are these people here who we need to target. Targeting them with what? Yeah, we want to evangelize, isn't it? So that we can win them and bring them where? So that is a department that is largely under outreach, interest coordination. Now, let me get to the big departments in the church. Elder said stewardship. It should be obvious. I should just close my eyes and say that one falls here. Stewardship. Someone is saying outreach. Now, where does stewardship fall? I can see people are struggling. I did not want to mention stewardship because we will argue and place it somewhere else. So, stewardship, wacha tuweke kwa parking lot. I will explain why. What about, let me say, development? Where would you place development? Church development. Now, before you say enrich, just pause for a minute because there is something else we are going to introduce. Is that okay? Yeah, I want you to put that pending or parking lot. Meaning there is something else we need to introduce. But before I do that, let's see. There is a list of departments that we have put there under outreach. I just want to see if we are all aligned, then we can move to the next. The department that coordinates prayer cells, that is focused on what? Focused on what? Outreach, purely, isn't it? If there is a department that is coordinating, I know week of prayer, if there is a department that is dedicated to coordinating, let's say week of prayer, driving things like revival and reformation during the last 5 years when we were focusing on revival and reformation, we had some churches with departments dedicated to that, a team that was dedicated to just having activities around revival and reformation. Where would they fall? Outreach. Their core mandate, isn't it? So do you think there's any other department that would want to place under outreach? We have talked about prayer cells. We've talked about departments coordinating week of prayer, 10 days, and all those. Okay? They would fall under outreach. Do we have any other department that we feel we need to put here? I know somebody mentioned Elders Council, and I said, Wacha Kwanza. Let's go through this, then we'll come back to Elders Council. Okay? I'm still pushing to have, I just want to ensure that we are getting the principle. It is getting clearer because I can see people are able to say, enrich, outreach, enrich, outreach. We will come back once we are very clear on all this. I would want to push to the next, I'd like to move to the next one. Let's see enrich activities, enrich departments. Enrich largely focuses on what? Nurture, isn't it? Departments that are inward facing, departments that are focused on the activities within the church. Okay? So the departments that we would have, I think we have these ones. Yeah. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. Now, departments that would fall under enrich would be like AMO, as you said. Okay? Can you see that? Getting men involved, nurturing men within the church, nurturing women within the church, women ministries. What about youth department? The same, isn't it? Those are departments that are largely getting people involved, nurturing them, getting them involved. Is that okay? Can you give me more? Children ministries. Ongeza hapo. Any other? Somebody has said singles. Ongeza hapo. Any other? Any other department? Somebody has said possibility ministries. Possibility ministries, is that outreach or inreach? Is that outreach or inreach? Largely, where do they fall? Inreach. Possibility ministries falls there. That's a good one. Any other? Where are all the other departments? Okay. Now, I will leave it there at the ETC. I don't know which way we can go. Now, the ETC, you will populate the rest of the enrich. Can you now get have you now gotten the drift? The departments that are largely focused on activities within the church, enrich. Okay? One more before I put on the mic. Any other enrich department? Dorcas, I thought we argued about Dorcas. What did you say about Dorcas? No, I'm still waiting for Elder to be converted. What did you say about Dorcas? No, but Dorcas is focused on activities outside, isn't it? Some orphans, whatever, we go and take our services out there, isn't it? Okay. nurture, retention, and reclamation. Enrich, outreach. Why are you saying in low tones? It is what? Why don't you say it loudly? Enrich. Very good. Nurture and retention, isn't it? Enrich. What about health? Let me pause there. Let's look at outreach, then you let me know where we are placing what. I'll let Elder do the next part, but I can see we are getting it. Elder, do you want to take outreach? Yeah. Yes. 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 Now, let me put that parking lot kidogo, because your concern is women ministries. We have said that is Enrich, but they have Dorcas, which is outward facing, isn't it? What about men? We have put them under Enrich. Where is the component that goes out? It's there. Just hold it. We are coming to that. Okay?
Right away.
Okay.
Remember, I mentioned to you that each church member has got how many core functions? 3. Similarly, AMO also has got how many functions? They are an enrich department, but charged with the responsibility of outreach, enrich, and outreach at the AMO level. When we go to the cluster of the enrich team, they'll be part of the group that will decide what we are doing as a church this year in terms of enrich. But on their own, they have an individual responsibility to take up. Just like I said, each department has a role for outreach, enrich, and outreach. So nobody has denied them doing what Adventist Women Ministry are doing. They can also take it up as AMO, as their outreach mission. Are we clear? We are saying that each department is involved in what? Number one, priority, outreach. Number 2, number 3, and remember that if we don't focus very well on outreach and enrich, we cannot succeed in outreach. That's why I referred you to the fact that Jesus said, ngojeni hapa. Sinaambia disciples naenda lakini natuma msaidizi. Lakini nikituma msaidizi msiondoke. Mpaka nitume nani? Msaidizi, to equip them, to nurture them. So there was outreach aspect, enrich, before they could do what? Before they could go out.
What I'm seeing is that each department is supposed to be preach,
Yes.
enrich, outreach.
Correct, you have understood it correctly.
Yes, but then there are some departments in the church whose responsibility solely is preach,
Yes.
or outreach,
Yes.
or enrich. So these other departments whose sole responsibility is not particularly on a given function, we should be now supporting the one that is responsible.
That's why we are saying let us create clusters, right? We have cluster 1, outreach group. Cluster 2, enrich. Cluster 3, outreach group. I may be a member of cluster 3, which is outreach, right? But my main function may not necessarily be the prison ministry. But as a cluster, we can decide what we want to make our core function as a cluster. We may pick on one of the activities being done by one of the departments there and say this will be a flagship project for the year. Spearheaded by one department within the enrich or outreach. But we agree as an outreach team, all of us, that This year, Enrich flagship project itakuwa hii na hii. This year, flagship project ya outreach itakuwa hii. Flagship project ya outreach this year, we agree as an entire team. And that activity may be belonging to one of the departments in that cluster. But we now say that as a group, this is what we are focusing on as our church program. That is besides our individual departmental what? Am I clear? Because we each have got a departmental objective of doing outreach, enrich, and outreach. Like AMO. AMO may be involved with the Dorcas in going to ambition out in a slum village to distribute clothes. But AMO as a team, they've got their own program of outreach. They've got their prayer cell meetings. They've got a book they are studying on their own as an AMO team. They've got their breakfast meetings to discuss how they can nurture themselves as AMO men. They may also have their own. What other activities can they have? Who is in charge of AMO here? AMO, yes. Tell us what you have planned for us this year. Get the mic so that you are on the YouTube. Let's share the mic.
So thank you, Elder. Now this year, what we plan to do, we gave our activities that reached some 5 focal points. One is spirituality, which you mentioned there as outreach. The second one is enrich. The third one was outreach. Then we also are planning to have mentorship for the young people in church in collaboration with the youth department. And of course, we're also planning for social welfare. But under outreach, mostly what we've been doing the past years, and which we continue with this, as we had is prison ministries. But this year we are planning if we can also extend maybe to these children homes and other needy cases. Basically, that is what we are planning to do this year.
So long as you're engaged in outreach, enrich, and outreach. I'm told that the time is up. When looking at outreach, I'd like to recommend that our biggest outreach arm in the church is the Sabbath school. And in Sabbath school, I'd like to request that we focus on quarterly visitor Sabbath. May I know if you have got visitor Sabbath in this church? Do you have visitors day? Who's in charge of Sabbath school? Allow me to share with you a trick that we did, which really worked wonders. In the year 2014, we decided to invite special groups to come and visit with us in church. The first group that we had identified as visitors for our church were the Kenya policemen. So we say that the SDA Church Parkland is having a visitors day for who? For the Kenya police. So we extended the invitation to the police headquarters and invited all the policemen from around Nairobi area. So you could imagine what happened on that particular Sabbath. Policemen came dressed in uniform. We allowed them to take up the pulpit because there are some who preach among them. They had an opportunity to share. We had gifts for them after lunch. We had a good luncheon for them. We prepared our parking area very well, decorated the tables, and gave them a lavish luncheon. And after that, we closed by giving them gifts. Can you guess what kind of gift we gave them? We gave each policeman an umbrella, written SDA Church Parklands. We were hoping that with this umbrella, they could now go out to the streets in the roadblocks. When it's too hot and when it's also raining, they'd be the ones holding that umbrella out. ya kutangaza SDA Parklands Church. What wonders would it do if you as a community here decided even to welcome teachers from around this area? Just declare that next Sabbath we have a Teachers Visitors Day and inform all our children to invite all the teachers from around here. Write a letter of invitation to the schools around here and invite the teachers just to be here with you on Sabbath. And as they wind up, you give them a gift. The major gift on such occasions would be Steps to Christ, and which other book? When God said, remember, anything else that you could give? Huh? The gifts can be numerous. For lady teachers, even flowers can do. You can give them flowers, right? What impact would it have for the entire community to know that all teachers were invited and attended a service at the SDA church, and it was aired on the local TV station or VOK or whichever station, Citizen? Would it have an impact? I'd like you to note that from that visitation that we had of teachers at Parklands, we got some conversions. Many accepted Christ just because of the gifts that we gave them. So I'd like to request the Sabbath School superintendent and the Sabbath School departmental head to be innovative in nature. And remember that Sabbath School is a soul-winning tool where you bring in members, nurture them, and baptize them. And you can extend your invitation to any group that you want out there. Be it children, you can invite children from schools around here. Just entrust your children in the Sabbath schools to bring a fellow child from school. Will they be able to do it? Yes, they can. But if you say that men, just inviting men to come to church that day, any man, irrespective of their religion, that really worked out for us at Parklands. And since then, 2014, it has been a tradition that every quarter, the Sabbath School preserves one Sabbath for visitors. And when the visitors come, we prepare for them. We eat lunch with them. We allow them to participate in our services. We allow the communication team to capture their activities in the church. And we give them gifts before they leave. And it has a tremendous impact. That's how we distribute literature through the Sabbath School department. Evangelism, I don't need to explain that evangelism is actually in charge of outreach, interest coordination we have talked about, personal ministries, Adventist Muslim relations, VOP, VBS, publishing, and Dorcas. On Dorcas, I want to mention that this is the arm that will enable us to work the way Christ intended us to work. Because Christ said, first of all, go and meet their physical needs, right? After which you do what? You share the word with them. I want to say that I went to school and I was really privileged when I was at my graduate school at Andrews. I went there as a literature evangelist in 1983. I was paying school fees on my own, selling books and paying school fees. But when I got to Andrews, I discovered that they had a Dorcas Community Center service, Community Service Center, whereby I was allowed to walk into a church community service center and I was allowed to pick one item of whatever I required. If it was a shirt, I was allowed to pick one shirt. I needed a jacket, I was allowed to pick one jacket. I needed warm clothing for the inner part, the inner clothing, I was allowed to pick one. I was allowed to pick up a sufuria. I was allowed to pick up a kijiko. I was allowed to pick up a plate and a cup. And that's how my life started at Andrews. Then from there on, I continued working while going to school. Even though it took me 3 years to complete my degree, but I thought it was worth the while because I did not write back home to say that it took me a person. So I want to say that the community service plays a very critical role because even today as we speak, how many of you have got something in your home that you don't actually need? In Japan, they say that if there's something in your sitting room and you never touch it in 1 month, you don't need it. Can you identify something in your sitting room or in your bedroom that you have never touched for the whole month? Can you give me an item? In your living room or in your bedroom, something that you have never touched for 1 month. Are there many or just one? What and what? Share with us. I'm talking to, I don't know his name. How about you? Elder Tom. Tell me what you have in your room that you don't need.
There are a number of items which I don't need.
Because you've never touched them for the whole
I've
month.
never touched them. One being some chairs.
Some chairs that you don't
chairs,
use. You never even use them in the whole
Not
month.
even used even once.
You never even sit on them.
Not even sitting.
No family member sits on them.
Maybe visitors when they come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you have in your room?
My radio.
Your radio. You never use it.
I never use it because I see the photo, the TV.
Yeah, you use the TV, you don't use the radio?
Yeah, I don't use the radio.
Anything else?
There are several items in the
cupboard.
In the cupboard. Yeah, cups, plates.
They're just there for people to see.
To see or to be used when many visitors come to my house.
But in 1 month, they can go for 1 month without being touched.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
How many of you have got things in your rooms that you do not need? Needing meaning, if you're not able to use that thing in 1 week, then you don't need it.
Yeah.
It's something that you can do without. Those things that you don't need, or do you think there's somebody else who barely needs them? Isn't there somebody that needs just a radio to listen to the news asubuhi?
Yeah.
And a chair to sit on? And that extra wall clock on your wall?
Yeah.
Is there a shirt in your wardrobe that you've never worn this year?
Many.
Many.
Yes.
Why are we sitting on things and the world is dying? Yet our rooms are filled with things that people need out there. And the Lord says, fulfill their need, then bring them the message. And they'll accept. That's why he belabored the point that we need to define our territory. If you have a geographic territory that is comprising non-SDAs, your aim should be to ensure that after 4 years, you want the entire geographic territory to be converted to SDA. How do you do it? Needs assessment. Assess the needs of these people and fulfill that need. Then hold a crusade after 4 years. How many people will come to your crusade if you have met the needs of everybody in that area? Another thing that I'd like to challenge you on. How many of you think you have an item in your room that another church member needs and they don't have? You have something that you think can be used by another church member who is in need. Ama hakuna?
Go.
Why are we not following the example of Christ? I think if Elder came to me and asked me to empty my wardrobe of what I don't need, but he has to come and ask. Because members will say that, Elder, you didn't tell us that you need these clothes. You didn't tell us that there is this need. Because in the first place, we do not take a needs assessment for the members. We said there are 2 assessments that needs to be done every year. Needs assessment for their physical needs and their talent profile. Talent stroke gift profile. Data bank, which shows you that in this church we have got 10 musicians. In this church we have got 10 teachers. In this church we have got 20 doctors. So that when needs arises in terms of meeting the needs of others, you can utilize your own personnel to meet their needs. So I strongly recommend, if you do not have it in mind, start thinking in terms of the community service center. Where neighbors can simply walk in, a church member can simply walk in and get a packet of unga and go and cook. You just walk into the corner of the church somewhere, it will be somewhere in the corner of this church somewhere, I don't know where. Even behind the toilets there. Where a member will just come in and fit that suit that Ed Elder was using last year. And he'll happily walk out of it to share with his neighbor. Or to use it himself. Instead of these things just rotting in our cupboards. The policy is if there's something in your room that you have not touched for 1 week, you don't need it. That is what has helped Japanese to maintain the environment in Japan. Because anything that is not touched in 1 week is not kept in a sitting room. It is discarded because it is not needed. Be it a picture or whatever, if you're not looking at this picture every week, then you don't need that picture hanging on that wall. Put something there that you need. That is why Japan is the cleanest environment around the world. Yet, they are the ones with the largest factories in the world. They produce and pollute, but yet they're the cleanest. But we as Kenyans, hata mama akinunua deep fry na imeisha, bado anataka kuweka hiyo mkebe. Kweli urongo? Mkebe ya deep fry unaweka kwa store and it starts gathering other animals there. Kweli urongo? Now do you think there's somebody in the community that just needs that deep fry can and it will mean a whole difference to them in this village? Huh? Mkebe tu hii yellow ya nini? Ya mafuta. You don't need it, yet somebody else does what? Needs it. How many of you have got shoes in your wardrobes that you've never used last year? Madam, how many pairs do you have? How many pairs do you need? Do you have pairs that you have never used in the whole year? Why are you keeping them? Just be honest with us. We want to know this idea behind why we keep things that we don't need. Okay, madam. The floor is yours.
I don't know. I use them, then after some time, maybe I lose interest in them and just keep them aside.
Just put them aside.
Yeah.
Inaoza tu. Zikioza unatupa. Ama zinaendelea kuchafua nyumba tu. They become a pile of garbage in the house, right? Instead of even throwing them, you cannot even throw them out. Plastic bags. Uhuru bag. Hata ile plastic bag ilikataliwa na serikali zamani. There are still people who keep plastic bags in their drawers. I think I belabored the point. If you want to reach the community needs of this community here, simply put a small structure around the corner of this church, where a needy person, whether a church member or a non-church member, can come in private when you're not here and sign himself up and say that I need one cup of unga. I need a packet of milk. You'll be surprised that even church members will come for that support. Me, that's how I supported myself through school. Because whenever I needed a shirt, I would simply run to the community service center. Get a sufuria, get a kikombe, vijiko, anything that I needed, including shoes. I did not buy shoes. I could go in and use used shoes. Pants were so many. Jackets. I rarely did any shopping for the 3 years I was in Andrews. Yet my needs were met by a church which was concerned about the community. The Lord says, meet their needs, then minister to them. we suggested that we should have what we call the executive admin and finance. This is simply a supportive arm of administration. We said our core business is in 3 areas: inreach, outreach, and outreach. Everything else is a supportive service. And why are we recommending the executive admin and finance? We're simply saying that this is the arm that can avail itself at a quick notice, yet be representative of all the departments. That's why we said inreach needs a leader who should be a member of admin and finance. The head of outreach should also be members of admin and finance. So that at any given notice, you don't just simply call board members and say, come to those members who are here today, kindly let us meet at the pastor's office. When you execute business in a very awkward manner. So to make our life simple, let us put in place an executive admin and finance committee. We can sort out urgent matters. We can also sort out issues of policy, and they can give guidance. And like my colleague had suggested, we're only here to suggest for you the department. It's not us to dictate. You can sit down and say that in this group, the following members will be departmental members. We had recommended elder chairing, pastor being a member, head of outreach, head of inreach, head of outreach. The treasurer must be there because of financing. Stewardship director must be there. The deacon must be there, the church clerk, for record purposes. So that any time when you want an ad hoc or an urgent church board, you don't need to call all the church board members to come. Just call the executive admin of committee. It will be a representation of all the entire church. Because the major departments will be represented and all the functions will be represented. So it will handle policy guidance, emergency church board matters, procurement matters. I did not ask, how do you handle procurement matters in this church? Do you have a procurement committee? Who buys things in this church? If, for instance, I want a chair, let's say like me, and I belong to the Possibilities Ministries. If I've come to church and I say, now, as you have seen, I need to use 3 chairs at once, which means you can build for me a chair, right? So that whenever I come, I don't look for 3 chairs. I'll just be sitting in that special chair. If I wanted to buy such a chair, what will be the procedure? Let's say Possibility Ministries has made a request that they want a special chair for a member. How would you handle that? Can somebody simply tell me the procedure? Anybody who knows? Can you kindly get on the mic? Microphone, please. Make it brief, please.
The requisitioning department places a request. That request is given to the deaconry, and the deaconry will propose procurement committee, because the procurement committee is not a permanent committee. It is created for a specific purpose after that is disbanded. And once the suggestion is made, the request is brought before the board for approval to purchase.
Is that a procedure? What is the flow in that procedure? Yes, Elder. Just explain what is supposed to happen.
What I know is...
Use the mic, please.
That's what's supposed to happen. But what I know is that I'm not sure whether we have a procurement organ here which does the procurement. I'm not sure, but I need to be advised.
I think it is you to sort it out. Now let me make a recommendation. And get me clearly, don't misunderstand me. No request should go to the deaconry without having been processed through the board. So that request should have initially been approved by the board before they even start to take action. Like if they discover that I'm a new member who is in need, my need will be brought to the attention of my department, right? In a meeting. And it will be tabled at the Elders Council's meeting. Tabled by the head of Disability Ministry, tabled to the Elders Council, right? And the Elders Council, what do they normally do? The details are provided by the department, right? Indicating that Mr. Chola requires a chair that is so high, so tall, so thick. So specifications are provided by that department. Then the request is processed through the Elders Council. And the Elders Council, what do they normally do with it? They bring it to the board, right? Where it is first of all approved before any action is taken. Is that correct? When action has been taken for procurement, that is when we now can talk of that ad hoc committee that you're talking about. Because now it is the board who is now referring this procurement item to who? To the ad hoc procurement committee. That's a procedure that I know should be followed. But not that you just call deaconry, enda mununue, mulete alafu board you approve. It is not normal that we approve things before they are debated by the board. All board agenda items must emanate from the department. Are we clear? Agenda item inatoka wapi? Kwa department. That's why we have got departmental meetings which must be regular. And as I'm going to suggest here at the end, departmental meetings must take place before the Elders Council's meeting takes place. So unaanza na departmental meeting, ikiwa ni wiki hii, next week unafuata na Elders Council, following week unafuata na board. Hakuna kitu inaenda kwa board bila kupitia Elders Council. Hakuna. Umeelewana? But all agenda items are drawn from the department that is concerned. And this means that you cannot just walk into the board meeting because you are not there and start introducing an agenda. Ni kama naeleweka? Somebody might think that I'm a board member. So I can just walk into the board meeting and say that this is what we require. You must first of all belong to a department. Process your request through the department to the Elders Council, Elders Council to the board. And I'll be showing you briefly how that procedure works. So admin and finance can provide policy guidance. They can guide emergency charge boards. They can also oversee procurement matters. But we must avoid conflict of interest. Once the approval has been given by the board, then the admin committee can take up the matter and ensure that it is procured in the right way. Because the committee has already the representation of how many people? It has got representation from outreach and inreach.
A question.
Yes, question asked.
Maybe you could explain on a time frame and maybe the number of personnel who can be in that department of procurement. For
In our
clarity.
current model, we have recommended that procurement be overseen by the admin and finance. And do you remember what we said was the composition of admin and finance? Head elder? Who else? Who are the members of admin and finance? The three associates, the head of inreach, outreach and outreach. That means that those departments are all catered for. So that nothing is introduced without their knowledge. Because after all, the three head elders, or the three deputy head elders, the ones who now generate this agenda to be taken to the church.
On the same issue,
Yes.
maybe you could also clarify the work of, because initially, previously, there used to be finance and budget committee. That whenever there is something which a department wants to procure, it will come to the finance and budget committee to go to scrutinize it, see maybe the specification or the product in the details before taking it for board's approval.
I think that is what I would refer to as a finance and resource mobilization committee. I strongly feel that they should do more mobilizing of resources, but at the point of utilization, let us involve everybody. That's why we are forming the admin and finance committee. Because the head elder is there, the heads of the inreach, outreach, and outreach are there, and the finance people are also there. And the finance chair, stewardship director, is also a member. So that we become responsible, not having any conflict of interest. I've seen cases where you give an admin officer. Do you have an admin officer for this church? Do you have a clerk? Why don't you have an admin officer? That guy who does that going round, like the caretaker. Do you have a caretaker for this church? But you don't have an admin officer. Who does the banking? When things are approved, who does the procurement? When you've approved that you want soap for this month, you want toiletries for this month, who does the buying?
Deaconry.
Deaconry. I don't want us to be in a situation whereby it's the same person who makes the request, who goes to buy, and come back to surrender. Unaelewana? In many churches, you find an admin officer who does the banking for the church. He's the same guy who does the procurement for the church. He goes buying, he looks for receipts, he brings them back to surrender, and game quish. Civil. Everything be done by. Let us avoid individual work. Even if it means it's a treasurer doing it, it's not correct. Treasury does not allow you to go out and buy things and bring them and account for them and surrender them. And like I mentioned, treasury is under an elder. Is that right? Up your treasury here is under an elder. Who's the elder in charge of treasury? Would I see by show of hand? Elder. Head elder. First elder. Is there a timetable for duty at the elders at the treasury every Sabbath? Do you have a duty roster for the elders working in the treasury? I'd like to recommend that you develop an elders roster, which indicates where the elder is supposed to be every Sabbath for the rest of the 2 years when he has been appointed. Because on a daily basis, there should be an elder that is coming up to the pulpit with the pulpit team. This is the elder that is in charge of that department that is performing on that day. If it is youth day, the elder in charge of youth will be escorting the guest to that venue. But while he's escorting the visitor to the pulpit, there will be another elder on general duty who is in charge of everything around the church. Elder on duty. And besides that, there's an elder on duty in treasury every Sabbath. So there are 3 elders on duty every Sabbath, not just one. What does the elder on duty in treasury do? When you collect your offerings from here, who picks them? They are brought to the pulpit. From there, where do they go? Who takes them? Who takes them there? Deacons. Who locks them? Deacons. Now, saa ile wanalock treasurers wako wapi? Let me give you a system that has worked for us in my place. In treasury, there are 2 rooms. There are 2 key items. There's a key for the door to the treasury, and there's a key to the safe in the treasury. Okay? When offering is collected, assume that the key to the treasury may be with the deacons. But as soon as they enter the treasury, the treasurer locks the money into their safe. Unaelewana? So that at no point in time should there be a deacon entering the treasury chest without the presence of a treasury officer. Somebody may ask, what does that elder do on Saturday if he's in charge of treasury? When the elder is in charge of treasury, he's the one who sits with the treasurers and another deaconess, because they should assign two people. Two deacons and one elder, plus a treasury team. So that when the money is being offloaded from the envelopes, sisi inatolewa, inawekwa hapa shilingi 10. Envelope inasema pesa ngapi? Shilingi 10. So the treasury officer anapeana for confirmation, so that the treasury person can key it in. So the elder is present here when the money is being offloaded, being counted, and being recorded. Once it's recorded, you've got a black book. How do you call it? Do you have an OB? Occurrence book for the treasury. Black cash book. It is the duty of the elder on duty on treasury to now write and confirm that this is what was collected. And he puts a signature there. That today, tarehe fulani fulani, we collected 200,000 shillings and 10 cents. It's recorded. Kama macho ya board, the elder, because he's the supervisor of the treasury team, he signs there that money has been received. In the course of the week, the treasury team, possibly with the admin officer, will bank this money. So that the elder who is coming on duty next week, who was not on duty last week, will have another 2 roles to play. He'll now confirm the banking of the previous week. You look at that record that was signed by another elder, the elder said there was 200,000 shillings. Then the elder will simply ask, where is the banking slips for last week? Alafu anaendorse kwamba last week we collected 200, but we banked 150,000. That anomaly is reported to the elders council by that elder in charge of treasury. Unanielewa? That is the role that the church has assigned the elder on duty in treasury. But the overall supervision of treasury, like in our case now, should be under the head elder. But the actual work on a Sabbath to Sabbath basis must involve different elders. Kila Sabato na elder yake. Kila Sabato na deacon tofauti. Kila Sabato na deaconess tofauti. And we are also recommending that the treasury team should not sit behind somewhere and start counting money while people are attending church service. Because wewe sasa utakuwa nourished saa ngapi? You're in the cash room, busy counting money. The preacher is preaching. You know those old methods? Like we used to use in our villages there. Pesa inakusanywa, treasurer na watu wake wanakaa kiti pale kwa ile bench pale. Just exactly where that friend of mine is sitting there. The sermon is going on, they're busy doing what? Counting on their own. So systems changed. When money is collected, either it stays here on the pulpit until the service is over, but it has also been discovered that that is also dangerous. Because post-corona period, people have walked into churches and carried money from the pulpit. It's the best alternative, take that money, have the deaconess and the treasury team keep it together, awaiting verification after lunch. So when people break for lunch, the treasury team should break for counting the money in the supervision, under the supervision of the deacon, deaconess, and elder. I don't know whether I'm asking for too much, but that is a procedure that this church uses. If you find it befitting for you to use it, if you find that it's a bit tedious for you, it's okay. but there should be transparency in everything that we do. Tuko sawa? Any question on that procedure? Departmental councils. The composition of the departmental council will be as may be deemed appropriate by the department. There will be a departmental head, a deputy head, treasurer, and secretary. Why this council? Remember I told you that each department has got some work to do. They have got outreach to do, they have got outreach to do, and inreach to do. And sometimes this requires resources, right? That's why sometimes the AMO men will say we want to collect money because next week we want to conduct our AMO breakfast. So the treasurer will collect, the secretary will record, and the money will be handed over to treasury so that when they need it, they just collect it. And this explains why sometimes it's recommended that the council members of a department are chosen after the normal board has been put in place. So that those who are in put in place this year can now decide and help to allocate council members who may not have been members before. As we go on, kindly make any query if you have got any query because time is against us. What's the mandate of a departmental council? Number one, develop departmental strategic objectives. And those strategic objectives lie on those three focus areas: outreach, and inreach. Develop annual departmental work plans. May I ask how many of you have developed your work plans for the year? Work plan for the year. Costed work plan for this year, 2020-23. Is there a department that has developed the work plan? And this is why we are now saying that there is need for AMEC, Audit, Monitoring and Evaluation Committee, which can report during the board meeting that Department A, ingawa tulifungua mwaka in January, we are now in March, they have not made their work plan. That is an audit query. Because that's a thing that will hinder us from meeting our objective. It's not just a matter of finances, it's a matter of systems. Any risk that may be noticed in the system has to be corrected and reported to the board. And I would recommend that AMEC works as an independent team, reporting directly to the board. After AMEC has reported to the management that such and such thing is going wrong, we're recommending that you do the following. The next thing is that they meet this thing at the board with a report on what has been done by the admin and finance. If they've done nothing, you simply say that this is what we reported. We gave them 2 months and nothing has been done yet. Can anybody help me to identify risky areas in this church, in your church here? What would you consider as a risk that may deter you from meeting your mission objectives? Just give me one item that you see as a risk. Do you see any risk in the elders council? Any risk in the departmental heads? Any risk in the cleaning of toilets in this place? Are the toilets always clean when you want them? Are the church doors always open at the same time that you want them open? Are your visitors always welcomed by the deacons? Is there something that we could do better to improve our work so that we can achieve our objective better? Those are what we refer to as the risky areas. Those risks have to be identified by the audit team, brought to the attention of the management, and reported to the board directly without any hindrance. On the matters of risks, you allow the audit committee to report to you directly, without any fear that the head elder will say blah, blah, blah. Once the cabinet board, you report to him in a letter. We call it management letter. Naandika kusema ya kwamba, in observation, we noted that the following is not being done in the correct manner. And this is hindering meeting our objectives ABCD. For this reason, we are recommending that the following department be advised to take necessary action to rectify the situation. And we are giving them 2 months to do that. Time span. And that report goes directly to the board. Because auditors report directly to the board. They are under no jurisdiction of any other member of the board except the board itself. How many of you have seen the work plans for the year? The GC for this year? Elder, may I kindly request you to summarize? Do you have the work plan for the church for the 2023? The GC calendar of events, nani yako naye? Anybody has a work plan for this year? I want you to send it where everybody can access it right now. Do you have the church WhatsApp group for this team? Send the calendar of events for the year 2023 from the GC. How many of you have seen it? General Conference Church calendar for 2023. May I see by show of hand? You cannot do your work plan if you have not seen the GC calendar of events for the year. That is where everything begins. So that calendar should be sent to you in your inbox. By now you should have already known that for this year, AMO has got the following activities outlined by the GC. How many activities are there for the youth this year? Who is the youth director here? Any departmental head here? Which department do you represent, madam? Yeah, I'm talking to the red, in red. An elder or a departmental head? I'm talking to her. Kindly just notify her. Yeah. You're assisting? Deaconess. How many activities do you have for the year 2023? As per the World Church calendar? But yours is not even supposed to be mentioned in the church calendar. You know that at the end of every quarter, what happens? Huh? Holy Communion service at the end of every quarter, which is either done at the end of the quarter or the first week of the quarter, right? That is one thing that has been done for you by the GC. But now that leaves you with how many Sabbaths for the whole of the year? It is now your responsibility to fill in those blanks. Melona, who is the head of youth here? Women ministry. Women ministry. What do you have in the church calendar for this year? Which day of prayer? Kindly use, kindly give her the mic. International Women's Day of Prayer.
International Women's Day of Prayer, 4th March. Then we have Women Ministry Emphasis Day. That is 10th of June.
Those are 2 items.
Yes.
In the whole year. So what happens to the rest of the year?
Now we fill them up with
You fill the blanks. That is the work of the departmental heads, to fill the blank. That's the work plan I'm talking about. Can you give us an idea of how you intend to spend those other months? Just give us a rough idea.
Like we have on a quarterly basis prayer breakfast.
Prayer breakfast.
Then we have weekend, what I would call a weekend challenge or a weekend.
Weekend challenge, and the next.
We have a sports day.
Sports day.
Cookout.
Cookout.
and end retreat.
Sports day just for women alone.
Yes.
And the rest of the church? Wataki?
We do it for the women plus the youth who are females.
And where does that leave the men?
The men do their own plans.
They do their own things. Allow me to recommend a social Sunday for the entire church. And do it during holidays when the children are back from school. Social Sunday for the entire church. A day in which you can simply get everybody out to interact with the community. And do it out in a public school and invite children from other places. So do the sack races, do the running, do the whatever, the jogging, whatever, together. Just want to make the family whole. But I'm happy that that for you is already scheduled. Amo should now think in terms of what they want to do. Because that is not part of Amo, right? So departments, I don't know whether we are together. Each department must have its own work plan, which is costed. Your plans have not been costed, madam. But costed. What's your projected budget for the year? Projected budget. Budget requirements for the year, yes. Yeah.
Thorough.
For women?
Yes.
Amen. The men are scared. I didn't have to raise it.
Just from the members.
From the members partly.
Because what is biggest in that budget is because of the retreat. Mm-hmm. The others are small.
Retreat. 600,000. Do you think that is big thinking? Big thinking. And remember, we said that her department is doing her outreach. That's why they have a retreat. They're doing their inreach. And at the same time preparing to do outreach. So as you collect your money, think in terms of those three areas. Outreach, inreach, outreach. Sawa. You're supposed to develop and submit a departmental agenda to the Elders Council and the Church Board. I want to make it clear that no agenda should emanate from you as an individual board member. Don't wait until people have come to the board meeting and the pastor is seated there and the chairman is there. Maybe the elder is chairing. Then you now say that I also had an agenda. You'll not be allowed to speak. Because there's a procedure. What is the procedure? All agenda items emanate from the department. The departments hold their departmental councils for them to produce the agenda. Once they have produced them, they send them to the Elders Council, where they are debated before they are forwarded for inclusion in the board item. This is what causes harmony in the church of the SDA. Because they have a harmonious way of doing things. We don't have situations whereby somebody simply stands up in the board and starts asking why the agenda item cannot be looked at. So kindly let us bear that in mind, that we submit a departmental agenda for consideration by the Elders Council before it can be moved to the church board, where the decision is taken. And once the decision is taken on an agenda item, what happens? What follows? Most items have got financial implications, right? If you have said that we have allowed the women ministry to proceed to Mombasa for their retreat, somebody will ask, for how much? She'll have provided those details completely. We're going to Mombasa using Easy Coach. It costs so much. We have planned that the members will contribute so much. We're asking so much from the church. So that when you come to the board will not debate the issue of how much you're asking from them. Don't bring an item to the board for them to discuss, because that is not where discussions take place. Discussions take place where? At the departmental level. The work of the board is to receive, review, and approve. Or deny. Like former head elder will tell you. Receive, review, and approve or reject. And you should not find a departmental head arguing with their elder in charge of the department in a meeting. Because this was already done where? At the departmental level. We already met as a department with the elder. We have met at the elders council, and the item has been brought to the board. When it's brought to the board, the person who should actually now speak is just the departmental head, seconded by the church, by the elder. Because the agenda belongs to you as a departmental head. You must present it and say it has even been submitted to the elders council, and this is what we are recommending should be done. The elder should just support, and if the other members feel that there's a need for review, they're entitled to that. But you cannot introduce an agenda to the board which has not passed through that procedure.